and basically ended up in Billy No Mates. And I feel sad for the guy, right? And it's exactly the kind of person, the kind of expat coming to Ukraine that you don't want to be, because it's self-isolating. You end up probably a bit depressed, and also you're a lot more vulnerable when things go wrong, and you miss out on huge opportunities.
SAR Experience.
Привет and greetings from a very sunny but slightly windy Odessa Mama in Ukraine. And in today's Vodka Vodcast, me, Connor Klein, we're diving a little bit into why you don't want to end up being Billy No Mates, as we like to say in Ireland and in the UK. Basically, not have a social circle, have no friends, if you decide to spend a lot of time in Ukraine. Now, of course, if you're coming here as a traveler and you're going to spend, 2 weekends, 10 days, and you have all these dates lined up, whatever, or you're just going to go and hit the bars, the clubs, and a city like Odessa in the summer, then this is not really an issue, obviously, at all. It's more when you want to come and spend 3 to 12 months a year here and you don't have any sort of social circle, because whilst there are a lot of obviously great things about spending more time in Ukraine, no one can really, we're social creatures, basically, human beings. If you don't have a social circle, then it's going to be very tough for you. And that expression, Billy No Mates, it can actually happen to quite a few foreigners who decide to move here and don't have a plan in place for that. And the genesis for today's video is actually a little bit based on my own experience. I started coming to Ukraine in particular, and this obviously can apply to anywhere you could say in the world, more or less, if you extrapolate it out, but definitely for Eastern Europe. I started coming here to Ukraine. It was about 12 years ago on my first trip, and I was living at the time in Brussels in Belgium. I was working as a lawyer there. So whilst I did have, relative to Americans, quite a bit of free time to go and travel back here, obviously I was based there. I could only come for a couple of weeks at a time, maybe up to 3 weeks in August, and it was great. I mean, I didn't know anyone here. That created its own set of issues, but by and large I was traveling around, going to all the different cities, exploring, obviously going out, partying, meeting women, and it has a whole set of issues attached with it. I've addressed that, of course, in lots of videos on this channel. I'll link a few down in the description, the earlier vodcasts about my dating journey in Eastern Europe, in Odessa and Ukraine in particular. But basically, I had what most guys had when they start coming to Ukraine: a few weeks, a few trips, getting back maybe, primarily in the summertime, but maybe also a weekend trip like around Christmas, New Year's. I came and celebrated here with my friends, and everything was great because I wasn't really invested in the country and spending more than, say, absolute maximum would have been a little bit under a month per year. Now, it's made even more difficult here because the level of English is pretty low. I've talked about that also in a lot of videos. Basic Education first do a English proficiency ranking across the globe, and they put Ukraine, they actually put Kiev, the capital, in the 4th of the 5th groups, being the lowest, right? Number 1 being the best, like countries like the Netherlands and Sweden and whatnot in Europe, in Northern Europe, and even Central Europe, like Poland, Romania scored reasonably high on that, but here, 4th out of 5th, same with Minsk in Belarus and Moscow in Russia. So that said, obviously creates another set of barriers, the language barrier. It's an obstacle that has to be overcome. So I did start to learn some Russian, but it's a big time investment, even though I learned a lot of other languages, and it was a lot of struggle also because of that. Also, when I first came 10 years ago, the level of English was even lower. It was actually a lot lower than it is today in these major cities. So I had that. And by and large, it was an adventure. It obviously had its own set of obstacles, as I'm saying, but the rewards outweighed it because I was just spending, a few weeks here. And obviously, if you're going out on lots of dates, going to lots of parties, it's so animated, you're on a break from back home and your normal life. You're more than willing, at least I was more than willing to struggle through those obstacles and actually have no contacts here. I came every year, but I didn't make any local friends, and I didn't make any friends, we'll say, who were foreigners living here. I did make some friends with guys who were traveling here. That started maybe after the maybe after a couple of trips, and we stayed in contact. But they don't live here, so when I come back, it might be coincidence that they might be here. It happened once or twice, but in general, I didn't have a network in Ukraine. So what I noticed, the big difference is obviously when I started to spend more time here in Eastern Europe and in, say, Odessa in Ukraine in the summers, or just Ukraine in general, that not having a social network and not having friends, it becomes an issue. Like, as I said at the beginning of the video, we are social creatures, and if you have no guy friends, you can go on as many dates as you want, but you're going to have an issue just from a human perspective. And also, it has a big impact on your overall experience here because, if something happens to you, for example, like you get ill, you're in a foreign country, you don't speak the language, just being able to call someone, a buddy, and just say, hey, this has happened to me. Obviously, that's going to make a big difference in those kind of emergency situations. Also, for getting to understand the local culture. Having someone who's already done it before and gone through all the mistakes that you're going to probably make, or the obstacles that you're going to face, and actually figured out a way to overcome them, that is a huge, huge resource. They can be mentors for you as well, whether they happen to be another foreigner who's actually moved to Ukraine. That's great because they've faced probably the same hurdles as you, and also a local friend. They will just have all the local inside knowledge, right? Where to go out, where's the best coffee in the city, whatnot, or they can also introduce you to their friends, and that creates that social circle because then you're not some strange foreigner. You're a friend of Igor or Ivan or whoever it happens to be, and it doesn't happen to be exclusively male friends either. You can also have female friends to a certain extent, like maybe ex-girlfriends or the girlfriends of girls that you're dating. These are all great resources that if you're going to spend, if you're investing time into being here in Ukraine, it's going to become huge value to you over the long term. Let me make a bit of a contrast. Like, I understand that some guys do come to Ukraine, or just they move countries in general because they're trying to escape something back home, which is never probably the best reason to move to a particular country. I understand why they leave. There could be anything. They could be bankrupt back home. They could be running from the law. I don't know what it is, or running from a past relationship, unemployment. There are lots of reasons to move, but those guys obviously probably haven't set up any sort of social circle because it was kind of like, I have to get out of here. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to guys that I know here in Ukraine, that they come over, they move here permanently. They don't speak Russian or Ukrainian, and they're not really motivated to do that. So they always face a big language barrier. They're always going to be the foreigner. Maybe they try to hang out with some English groupies, but basically they don't have any friends here and they don't develop it. And they're not really interested in the people here and whatnot. And what happens is that they end up very isolated. You can go on as many great dates as you want. Actually, no, one guy even became MGTOW after he moved here. He stopped dating women altogether. I don't know why you would do that. Why move to Ukraine and then do that? It's, you could do that back home, but fine. And basically, you can see that he looked a bit depressed. That's probably also why he gave up on women a bit. I mean, he had all these experiences about being scammed by the dating agencies. I mean, I have enough content on that. I'll link some of that down below as well. So he lost all this money, didn't really seem that interested in the country per se, didn't seem to be motivated to get to know people, either other foreigners here or learn Russian or Ukrainian. Russian is obviously more important for Odessa because everyone speaks it here in daily life. And basically he ended up in Billy Nomates. And I feel sad for the guy, right? And it's exactly the kind of person, the kind of expat coming to Ukraine that you don't want to be, because, it's self-isolating. You end up probably a bit depressed, and also you're a lot more vulnerable when things go wrong, and you miss out on huge opportunities. I mean, these opportunities can obviously be ultimately training source, so it can also be for business, getting in local business opportunities. And that's really obviously if you're investing in being here a lot and you want to invest your money. Also understanding things like the local real estate market or whatever. I mean, just someone who's already done it before can help you with that, or a local who's already probably knows this because they bought property here. There's just so many advantages when you are spending time here to building up your social circle and, having local friends, whether they happen to be originally foreigners and they can help you on that front, or they're locals themselves and they help you integrate you into society here. But obviously, being motivated to go out and be social and investing some time into learning Russian are two key things in that. So let me just explain a little bit what happened for me, because I actually started spending a lot of time here. And I have a particular story. I was actually a little bit, you create your own luck in life, but I got lucky in a different way to probably how you're thinking. I was actually missed a train. The train, I think it was in Brussels, and I was heading down to see my father. We're going to go skiing in Italy. So it seems completely irrelevant to here, to Odessa. But I missed a train, and I could only get a later train, and that train got me as far as Frankfurt. Now, I remembered that I had a Russian friend a guy friend who moved to Frankfurt. I hadn't seen him for, I think, a year or two at that stage. And I said, hey, man, I'm actually going to it looks like I'm going to have to spend the night in Frankfurt. I mean, are you around? Can I crash at your place? And he was like, cool, let's go out. You know, this girl, he hadn't seen me for a long time, obviously, so it was great. We were able to go out and catch up and go out and socialize a little bit. And when we went out, he had a friend who was actually from here, from Odessa, living in Frankfurt, and we chatted a little bit. Obviously, we were in Germany. He spoke German as well. I mean, my Russian actually wasn't that good at the time, so I can't remember if we spoke in German or in English. I had previously lived in Germany, so I speak German. And I remember he told me, oh man, when you get to Odessa, you need to call this guy, because he organizes these parties. He organizes a German meetup for the people who speak German in the city, and he's a really cool guy, and he'll be a great help to you, because if you want to spend more time in Ukraine, I'd obviously told him this, and I had been to Odessa. He told me, this is a guy you need to contact. So, you know, a few months later, I came here to Odessa, and I wrote this guy who was what we call Russo and Deutsch, because he's a native speaker of both Russian and German, one of these people who moved from the former Soviet Union to Germany when he was younger. And he said, yeah, cool, you're a friend of Sasha, come, we have this meetup, blah, blah. So I went, hung out with him, the other people were there, his friends. I was spending maybe a little bit of time, not that much time. I think my plan at the time was like a week in the city. I hung out with them. They introduced me to their friends, and this was a game changer for my experience here in Odessa, because they just showed me the ropes of everything around here. They had obviously lived in the West, so they were able to, we both lived in Germany, so we had a good bit of relatability, and then they had obviously chosen to live here in Odessa, and these guys became really, really close friends to me. I met so many other friends. I met lots of girls that I went out with, actually, ultimately just through, you know, a friend of a friend of a friend of theirs, you know, having spent so much time here in Odessa, having come back year after year, and they're pretty close friends of mine today. I don't know how many years ago this was originally. It was probably like 7 or 8. So I really want to emphasize that, you know, I got lucky with this in the sense that I met, because I missed my train, and there was a sequence of events that meant this guy gave me the contact. But I could have created that myself if I had been more proactive. Now, of course, it takes a lot of time to figure out, you know, the events where you can meet people and how you can build up that social circle. Like in general, when I see foreigners who move here to Ukraine, the ones that in the long term are the most successful are those that build up a social circle for all the reasons I've outlined in this video. Also, overcoming the language barriers, also pretty important over the long run. I never tell guys, hey, you're coming on a 2-week trip to Ukraine, you need to learn Russian or Ukrainian, and then you say just basically hello and thank you. I mean, that's nice and everything, but that doesn't really do that much for you. You need to go a bit deeper than that. And if you're not going to if you're not committed to the region and going to, you know, want that it makes sense to make that investment, then it obviously is nonsensical to do that. I mean, if you're really passionate about learning languages, a complete language geek like I am, then okay, knock yourself out like I do, learn lots of random languages. No, not so random, but there was a period like that. And I'm actually learning some other languages at the moment that are not so relevant for where I am in Ukraine, but I do plan to go there in the future, like Romania. I'm going to make some vlogs from Moldova and maybe Romania in the next year or so. Let's see how things work with the travel situation. It's obviously not the best at the moment. I'm making this video at the end of, mid-February 2021. So how can you speed up that process if you want to make, you want to commit yourself to spending, say, at least 3 months a year in a country like Ukraine? If you're just coming for like a month, like I was in the beginning, Max, it's not so important. It's a plus, but it's not as vital as when you actually want to spend at least 3 months here. And a lot of the guys writing me want to spend like 6 months. They're not a huge fan of the winter. They want to spend the winter, for example, one guy He's in Miami and Maldives, where it's sunny. Latin America, also a very good option. As you can see today, it's actually not so bad, but we did have snow and it will be minus 12 Celsius later this week. So what I did to help my clients who would come in person, many of them to live the Czar experience, and also, for my consulting online, was to create a high-level consultation group of like-minded guys who are planning to come here, so that, not just tap into my 10 years of experience of, actually over 10 years of living, traveling, and dating here in Ukraine, but also other guys' experiences who would spend a good bit of time in Ukraine, or who are planning to come and spend 3 to 12 months a year here, maybe invest in property, maybe they want residency, maybe now, when I designed it wasn't the case, but now after the election in the US, probably some guys just want to leave. Maybe they're scared of higher taxes in the US and they're planning to relocate outside of Western Europe, Latin America, or North America, and they are attracted by the idea of living here in Ukraine. So I organized that, put it together. It was amazing, I have to say. Just so much great value provided and solving those issues. One of them, of course, is how to build a social circle once you get here to Ukraine, for the reasons I outlined in this video, and so you don't end up being Billy no mates. I have to think, what would you be in Ukraine? I guess you'd be Yevgeny no mates. But do you have a name with Billy? Boris no mates, maybe, if you got here. I actually know a Boris here, but he does have a lot of friends and he does have a social circle because he provides a good bit of value in the local community. It's actually also an important point, that it's not just about taking when you get here to spend more time in Ukraine. It's also about providing value to other people. It's also very important so that you also give something back to the community and play a role in it ultimately. If you are considering moving to Ukraine, doesn't have to be this year, it can be the year afterwards, I am going to reopen my high-level consultation group for enrollment. It's probably open right now, and it's only going to be open for about a week for enrollment, so you need to get in on my free mailing list. Down below, as always, there's a free gift. You type in your email address there, and then you get the Czar's hotspots for cities like Odessa and Kiev. Going to help you out a lot. It's a no-brainer, basically. Go down, type it in, then you have that, and then you're on my mailing list, because then you open up these specific programs for my most loyal fans, and they're the ones who are on my free mailing list. So go and do that if you haven't done it already, and if you are, you're probably going to get an email about it probably in the next day or so, about how you can enroll in the relaunch in season 2 of Slavic Utopia Secrets Ukraine. Really looking forward to it, excited to see another bunch of alumni, because actually that's another thing I also organize as part of this alumni event here in Ukraine, where you actually get to meet the other guys on the program. So already you're going to have some good context when you come here. So for sure you will not end up, if you have a bunch of like-minded guys that you're already in the insider with, then you will definitely avoid being Boris no mates here in Odessa, Ukraine. If you move, if it's obviously Kiev, Lviv, or another city in Ukraine, going to be the same thing. If you have spent some time here in Ukraine and you've encountered this issue with how to build up a social circle, maybe ending up isolated, because it doesn't have to be Ukraine, it can also be another country somewhere in the world, because you didn't plan for how you're going to create a social circle and make friends and whatnot, then definitely drop a comment below the video in the comment section and share your experience with not just me, but also the other guys who are watching the video. Always great to see that community effect down there as well. And I will see you in the very next video. Do побачення, which goodbye in Ukrainian, first step in overcoming the language barrier, and до свидания in Russian. See you very soon in the next video. До встречи.
Czar Experience.